Hi everyone. This video is a book review about a book that I came across maybe 2 years ago when it first arrived to one of my old jobs, and the title of this book is Beyonce, Shine Your Light, and it was written by Sarah Warren and illustrated by Geneva Bowers. Now, as I stated, this book came to my job, and when I first saw it, I just knew I had to have it in my collection. I was mesmerized by the visual art on the cover, and also that the cover had little patterns. It's silver, it's metallic. I flipped through the artwork, and I really, really liked it. So even though I was 2 years late in getting it, I'm glad that I purchased it. The reason I'm doing a book review on this book in particular is because today is September 4th, 2021, and it is also Beyonce's 40th birthday. Beyonce was born September 4th, 1981, reportedly, so that would make her 40 years old. Some people debate that she is not 40 years old, that she is actually much older and that they lied about her age. But whether she's 40 or whether she's over 40, she looks good. Because I've seen some 40-year-olds and older that did not take very good care of themselves, or just they just let themselves go, whether it's by life circumstances or things they couldn't control or things they could control. And I'm just like, okay. So she looks good for her age, even though 40 is not old. But yeah, I wanted to choose her because I feel even though she's an icon, she's a very controversial figure. You either like her a lot or you hate her a lot, or you don't really think about her. I consider her an icon because almost everyone has their own personal opinion about her, whether it is good or whether it is bad. And she's an important figure. She has a lot of influence over people. So before I get into my book review, let me tell you a little bit about the author and the illustrator. So we're going to start off with the author. Her name is Sarah Warren, and Sarah Warren has a very tiny biography in the back of the book, which is why I'm going to be reading from her website. It says that she is an author and early childhood educator. She is dedicated to bringing everyday heroes to life in books that celebrate the diversity in our schools and communities. SarahWBooks.com. So my first assumption, and I do this with every book, mind you, after I read it, I look, or in the middle of reading it, if I make an assumption about what the author's background is like, I read further along and then look up the picture of the author, look up information about the author. So when I first was browsing through this book, looking at the illustrations, reading, I couldn't decide. My first assumption, I was flip-flopping between whether the author was black or non-black. I didn't know really what she was. And this was being, influenced by the illustrations. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that as I go into the book review. So when I went to the author's website, which I'm going to now on my little computer, Sarah W. Books. Hold on. There were some books that I recognized when I went there. Okay. The first book that I recognized was a book called Dolores Huerta, A Hero to Migrant Workers. I remember seeing this book. Then there's another book called, Charlotte and the Nutcracker, The True Story of a Girl Who Made Ballet History, which I guess is about the first black girl to perform in the Nutcracker or something of that nature. But this is a picture of some of the books. When I went to the author's autobiography, even more questions came up. It actually left me with more questions about her. So, let's be friends. She says, want to know everything about me? Sure, I would love to know everything about you. In the first photograph is a picture of her and her father, and she talks about how he helped instill her love for reading. He gave her the book Go Dog Go by Dr. Seuss, and she would read it all of the time. This inspired her reading. Then she also lists something called Things I Love. And she has a picture of The Best of Bert, which is a Sesame Street album, a picture of her cute dog. His name is Bruce Valentine. So I found out the author. I believe she's multiracial because it says one of the things she loves is a place called Midwest Mixed. Offers a welcoming space to build consciousness, strength, and community. If you identify as mixed race or as transracial or as a transnational adoptee, consider attending a meeting or the conference. And I've heard of mixed race, but I don't know much about transracial. I feel I don't have enough information about what transracial is, except for the limited knowledge I have. When I think of transracial, I think of like Rachel Dolezal. That's the first person that comes to my mind. But I need to do more research on it. I know you can have transracial adoption, so I'm wondering if like she works in that field as well, or if she was adopted, or if she wasn't adopted. I don't think she was adopted. Then her next one is Black Girl in Ohm. Is a space for joy, growth, healing, love, and the community. So Black Girl in Ohm, like O-M. The founder, Lauren Ash, is a beam of dancing light aimed at almighty goodness. She's also my little cousin. Then the author also works for the Minnesota Reading Corps. Since she was a rookie preschool teacher at the YWCA Children's Center. She says, I believe all families should have access to affordable, high-quality early childhood education. Minnesota Reading Corps helps educators and families give young minds the literary rich experiences they need to thrive. And this is a picture of her with about 4 children and they're reading. I really love that picture. So yeah, this is a picture of her too when she was younger. I'm really loving the hairstyle. She says that when she was 12, they moved from Minneapolis in a tight-knit neighborhood and went to go live in a farm in Wisconsin. She says, I didn't have any friends at first, and I felt like people were always staring at me. I also felt invisible. Isn't that strange? And I personally feel like, I don't know, for some reason I'm just jumping to conclusions. I feel like it had to do with her race, because I don't know the makeup of the town they moved into, but she doesn't bring it up. And she says that her mom putting her in local theater helped her step out of her shyness, and this also influenced her writing. She does a lot of work promoting diversity in her books, promoting education and other things. On her site, she has teacher trainings, teen workshops, all of that. Very pretty lady. I wish I had a better picture of her. Yeah, author visits. But anyway, let's start moving on to, okay, this is a closer picture of her. Girl, why don't you let me, whatever. The next person we are going to go over is the illustrator. Her name is Geneva Bowers. She is a self-taught artist from North Carolina who loves working with colors and adding a touch of whimsy and happiness, and her website is genevab.com. Now, with this illustrator, I was also guessing. I was like, I didn't know if it was a black illustrator or if it was a non-black illustrator, because like I said, I like making assumptions just to see if I'm right. So for a while I thought maybe she's not a black illustrator. I don't know. And I was basing it off of the illustrations in the book and how Beyonce was portrayed in the book. And It turns out she is a Black illustrator, if that's what she identifies as. Hold on. She has a very, very beautiful collection of artwork. Hold on. See this? Very beautiful. Uses very vibrant colors. She also worked for Disney. She worked for, what do you call it? Okay. She worked for Disney, Netflix, DreamWorks, WildBrain Studios. She was the 2018 Hugo Awards winner, Best Fan Artist. She also has just, goodness, she's just done so much. And she also has a webcomic called Hover Girls, which is very neat. She writes books for youth. I don't know. No, maybe she doesn't write books. Okay, I've seen this picture, this illustration before, but I think this is, I want to say Betty Shabazz. Yeah. I really enjoyed that she puts children of color in her illustrations. And women of all different sizes and body shapes, I really like that too. Both artisans are very diverse in their work. So let me get into the book review since I went on my little spiel about the author and the illustrator. So as I said, this book was published in 2019 by Houghton Mifflin, Harcourt Publishing Company. The graphic designs are amazing. At the front, you'll see like just, what do you call it? Honeycombs on the back, honeycombs in the front. Vibrant colors are throughout the books, and you will notice that in almost every illustration of Beyonce, she's wearing a bumblebee because they call her, Queen Bee, Bay, Bayhive, the Bayhive. It says Beyonce was quiet, a push and empty swing kind of quiet. That's how most of the world saw her until, and it shows her singing. It details her life from her childhood through her adulthood. So this is when Beyonce was performing, because she said herself that she was shy as a child, and her dance teacher? I don't know, it might have been her dance teacher said that she could sing too. It was an older woman that encouraged her parents to let her sing. One teacher looked closer. She can sing. Do you know she can sing? On stage, Beyonce became a different person, dazzling, confident, bold. This is where she belonged. I think this picture came from one of the pageants or something that she was in, or one of the talent shows that she went to. But years later, when she was older and famous, she actually got a chance to speak to her former teacher that had told her parents that she could sing. I don't remember what show it was on, but the teacher was just so proud of how far Beyonce had come. So there's one part of the book where it says Beyonce joined a girl group. They worked hard. They shared their dreams. They had each other. So this is the girl group she was in. I know she was in a girl group called Girls Time, but I believe that Girls Time, I don't know if Girls Time was already a group or if it branched off. Like, she joined this woman's group. I don't remember what the woman's name was, but she joined this ladies' dance group. And from what I recall, I guess her dad or Beyonce's father basically branched out from that group, or either took over the group or formed his own group or members of the group. But I know it was called Girls Time, and they performed, what do you call that show? I can't remember. But she has a video called Flawless, and in the beginning of the video, Beyonce has a music video. In the beginning of the Flawless video, the host of the show says, "And now we're going to present the hip-hop rapping girls time. And they were battling against a group called Skeleton Crew. But from what I remember, I don't think it was like a multicultural group. I think it was just mostly black girls. So I don't know if this was the group before that group or if it was something else. But apparently this is supposed to be girls time, I think. They entered a contest. They lost. They learned. They worked harder because Skeleton Crew, won. So they're dancing. They would practice all of the time. Practice, 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 practice. One thing I really like about Beyonce that I have seen is that she seems like a very hard worker. She seems very disciplined. She seems almost like a perfectionist. She wants it done correctly. I know a lot of people they don't really like that she's used the ideas, or like her team has used some of the ideas of other artists, like that one video, the what do you call it? Countdown? They say the choreography was taken from some other artist, but yeah, I guess just referencing other people. But I really like her work ethic. Her work ethic inspired me. One of my favorite performances that she did was either Coachella, which is Baychella, or the Super Bowl. And that even caused a lot of controversy because they were, dressed up as the Black Panthers. They performed Formation. It was just a lot going on in that Super Bowl halftime. But anyway. Beyonce's family gave it everything they had. Her mother fashioned them into stars, designing, stitching, styling. She also paid the bills. I like that they included her mother's craft too, because her mother creates clothes. I don't know if her company is still around. The House of Darian. See, you can tell I'm not like a super close follower of Beyonce, but I know a little bit of them. The House of Darian. And she would model her mother's clothing. So this is her mother. And then her father was her manager for a long time until he wasn't her manager anymore. I know he caused a lot of controversy later on in life. And her mother got remarried not too long ago, a couple of years ago. But both of her parents were very important figures in her life. They really supported her dream and invested in her dream, not only in her dream, but also her sister's dream, Solange. Her father aimed high, coaching, planning, publicizing. It was still Beyonce's dream, but other people decided how to make her dream come true. Beyonce paid attention. She learned. Then it says the group performed everywhere they went. They made it the biggest show on earth. So the group, but I guess she doesn't mention the group's break off, because it broke off into Destiny's Child, and then Destiny's Child went through a little group member exchange before it finally ended up as Kelly and Michelle. So I like how at the top it shows the group kind of dwindling down and then ending up as these core 3 members. Even though there's still a lot of controversy about that one too. Like I said, when you're an icon, you have some controversy. It has pictures of, I think that one song, I'm a Survivor. I don't know where they're performing here, but Beyonce's the lead. It looks almost like Dreamgirls. Best friends began new adventures. They cheered each other on. So this part may be referencing Beyonce going in her solo career. But occasionally they would still perform together. They went their own separate ways. Kelly has her career of singing. Michelle has, I think she ventured off into more religious music, maybe gospel. But she always seemed like she gravitated towards that mostly. But yeah, it shows them branching off amicably, doing their own little career adventures. Now, as I stated before, I mentioned earlier that I didn't know if the author or the illustrator was black or non-black. And I'm basing this off of other children's books I've read before where you might have a person who is black or like African American or something, and the illustrator will paint them in a way where you don't know, you can't find any trace of their background. Or the author will write them in a way where you're questioning their background, like you're leaving out parts and different information. Because usually the author is the one that approves the illustrations. Usually. Sometimes the author doesn't have any control, because I met one author that for her book cover, she stated she wanted a girl that had lots of melanin, and the publishing company made the girl look racially ambiguous where you didn't even know if she was black or not. Like, she didn't even look black. And the author was upset about that because she had another vision in mind. So sometimes in this book, when I would look at the images of Beyonce, I'd be like, okay, that looks like Beyonce. But other parts, I'm like, this doesn't look at all like Beyonce. Like, this looks like this woman is just very racially ambiguous. Like, for example, let me show you. I could go all the way back to when she was a little girl, the illustrations of it. Like this, like these illustrations over here. I'm like, I wouldn't have thought this was like, I would have thought this was like a multiracial child, not Beyonce. They're like, why is it such a big deal, Kiara? Why is it such a big deal? Well, you had authors in the past or figures in the past who might have been like very richly melanated. They might have had like a tighter curl of hair, and they get painted in a way where it erases all of their uniqueness, all of their texture, their hair texture, their wide nose, or their dark skin, or their certain features just erase to make them seem like they were racially ambiguous. So that was the only like thing that made me feel uncomfortable about the book, where I was questioning the background of the author and the illustrator, because I've only seen that happen in children's books where it was mostly like a non-black author or a non-black illustrator, where they're like, I'm going to design them this way. Or sometimes they would create the illustration where it almost looked like I can't even look, like one of those pictures of like Sambo, like in the past, where they had racist art, where you exaggerate their features and you exaggerate their lips and you exaggerate their eyes and different things, where they look like one of those like Sambo drawings. So that's where I'm coming from when I say I was questioning the background of the author and the illustrator. But when I found out more about the author, it made more sense why she was painted this way, because the author is very, I guess, for diversity. Like, she's multiracial. She's in like organizations where it's like transracial, transnational. So maybe she wanted Beyonce painted in a way where it just went across the entire board. Like, everybody could see Beyonce in themselves. So maybe that's what she was trying to convey to the reader. But anyway, before a show, Beyonce practiced until midnight, until 1 a.m., until 2 a.m., until 3 a.m. I like this because it also shows that her work ethic and discipline continued until she was older. It encourages children to work hard on their goals and know that they will reach success. And also, like, I also see her looking like herself. Like, I'm starting to see images of like, okay, I can see this is Beyonce. She rushed around the world, show after show, an award, then another, then another. She's just like winning. She's traveling. You can tell that the author did research about her because she told the story of Beyonce, but at certain points she was kind of vague about it because unless you had really studied Beyonce, you'd like, okay, I know what she's talking about there. But if you didn't, it was just enough. It was like, oh, it's so inspiring. Like, you don't know, like, the deepness, the darkness of things that happen behind the scenes, you know. She only said so much to keep the story inspirational. So on this page, she has, Beyonce knew how to give audiences what they wanted and more. But what did she want? Beyonce stopped. She made time to find the answer. The world was gigantic and she was just a speck. Inspired, lighthearted, and ready. So this was when Beyonce basically took a break from just performing. She spent time traveling. I want to say this was, you know, it's like, was it 2014? It was either 2014 or before 2014. But she took time to just explore and discover herself, take her career into her own hands. I think at around that time, she may have become pregnant with Blue Ivy because she had had difficulty with certain pregnancies before the birth of Blue Ivy. And I personally believe, because some people don't even believe she was pregnant. I don't know if she was pregnant or if she wasn't pregnant. I'm just going to assume she was pregnant. But some people say she wasn't pregnant. But I believe that if she was pregnant, that this break gave her a much needed rest for her to get a pregnancy. As I say, I work around people all the time with like fertility and various things. And sometimes the one thing you may need to do, like you may have the perfect diet, you may have like the income coming in, but if you just don't let yourself rest, because Beyonce was performing, she's like going here, going there, performing, having this grueling work schedule, like just taking the time to rest and reflect and get into the state of mind where there weren't all of these stressors really impacted her life. And it gave her the things that she truly wanted. It brought her back to her center of herself. Like here it has her getting married to Jay-Z. I don't know who these people are at the front. Maybe they like are her friends. But yeah, it shows her traveling and her getting married and moving on into the next phase of life. From now on, Beyonce would be in charge of her dream. She made decisions. Her no meant no. Her yes meant everyone gave 100%. She made mistakes. She learned. She grew. She paid the bills. She decided what to sing and how to sing it. So she basically took control over her music, they say. She began to experiment more with her sound. I know there's this YouTube channel called Beyonce Doing Things. I really like that channel because the person really goes deep into showing how Beyonce's voice, dance routine, and all sorts of things changed and were perfected over the years. When she first started out, had a very lighter voice, but near the end or to this current day of her career, she has a more powerful voice. She had vocal coaches. She has a warmer tone in her voice. She goes even more intense. If she wasn't intense the year before, she was intense the year after. She just kept getting better and better and better and excelling and expanding how she expressed herself musically. Then it says, when Beyonce got on stage, she was herself. She could also be anything she dreamed of. So could everyone who sang along. They could be grateful, bountiful, broken, jubilant, independent. This actually reminds me of a painting I painted. In the background, you see with that afro, it has the words in the hair. That's what it kind of reminds me of, but I think the illustrator did a way better job. I love this picture. I wish this was a poster, but I enjoyed the affirmations that they placed in here. There's something I just noticed. Is there a string going through? There's a continuous string going through the illustrations. Okay, there's a string. The world was her stage. Where could Beyonce shine the spotlight? On new artists, on women, on her hometown in trouble. on the beauty of her people, on the need for justice. So this is her and Blue Ivy. And it shows that as she developed more into herself, and the author didn't go into detail of how she did it. So on new artists, like if it was a new and upcoming artist, she might collaborate with them. So for example, Megan Thee Stallion, she collaborated with Megan Thee Stallion on a, what do you call it? Oh my God. How did I forget the name of the song? Savage. Yeah, Savage. So she collaborated with her on that song and brought her up to the charts. On women, she had an all-women's band. She was writing songs about women's empowerment in different phases, whether you're catered to you for your man, or you're married in a relationship, or what do you call it, single ladies, or those who wanted to be just single and proud. Also raising your standards, what do you call it, to the, oh my God, irreplaceable, getting through relationships, women's empowerment in different phases of a woman's life. So she started focusing more on that music, on her hometown in trouble. She does a lot of stuff for Houston. She's from Texas. So I guess Houston, Texas. Well, she does a lot of stuff for Texas. So she always giving back to her hometown, to her home state. She references them in songs. On the beauty of her people. Recently, in the past several years, she's been doing more music and videos about either Black power, Black history. For example, in Lemonade, she had in one of the videos the mothers of Black people who had been killed by police brutality. She also had the one that I haven't seen it, but she had a lot of African artists in her, Black is King. She wrote a song. No, she didn't write a song. She performed one, brown skin girl, talking about like loving the beauty of your skin. So she's focused more on Black empowerment, depending on who you ask. Because some people feel like she was just gaslighting or using a situation to promote her music. But whether she is or whether she isn't, you still have artists out there who aren't doing or saying anything about the plight of people of color, or people of African descent. You still have artists out there who, instead of making something like Black is King or Lemonade, are just talking about shooting Black people in the street and destroying Black families. So if I had to choose between those artists and Beyonce, I think I will choose the further, because both of them are making money, but one is promoting destruction and the other is promoting self-love. So which one am I going to choose? That's why I really don't have much of a problem with some of her music. Some of I'm like, I'll pass on this. But like her recent ones, especially the ones about empowerment and stuff, I really don't have a problem with it. Even though some people like, oh, she's pandering. Like, I'd rather be pandered to than you making a song about destroying my family and shooting me in the street, for real. Because we're still promoting these artists who have personally killed people. Because I know there was one artist that's popular. I'm not going to say their name, but he killed somebody. And there's still people supporting him. So I don't know. It says, now Beyonce finds quiet, a drowned out noise, get to know yourself kind of quiet. She listens, she keeps dreaming. And that's the last page. So yeah. Now, I remember somebody else had mentioned, well, I don't know. I can't remember. I can't finish my thought. But if you're a Beyonce fan, I think this would be a nice little book for you. It is age appropriate. It doesn't say too much. You know, it doesn't get very controversial. It just says enough that opens room for discussion. It just says enough where it won't make a child like have all of this conflict in their mind. It's very inspirational. Its whole focus is on you working on your dreams and being disciplined will help you further your goals. And I also think the artwork is very beautiful. I actually want to get more books that have been illustrated by this illustrator because I really love her style. She's very, very talented and does an excellent job in capturing everything. Like, this is some beautiful work. Whoever designed this book is a masterpiece. So thank you all for watching this video, and have a beautiful day, and happy birthday to the Queen Bee, Beyonce. Talk to you all later, and happy reading.